and gentlemen, it's time to immerse ourselves into our next segment titled Wolverine Presents a Blockbuster Rendezvous with Siddharth Anand.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Welcome to this special session on the making of blockbusters in the age of OTT. With me is a blockbuster director, of which there are very few of them in Bombay. The director of War pre-pandemic, the director of Pathan post-pandemic, Siddharth Anand. I think he deserves another round of applause, guys.
Thank you, Mayank. It's very kind of you for your kind words. Thank you.
You know, obviously, when it comes to blockbusters, and that's the topic of our conversation, Siddharth, it's really about the numbers that you post on the box office, isn't it? And over time, obviously, it's almost like a sport. Now, when you look back at your career of the number of years that you've had as a filmmaker, and given that success was based on how many people actually came to the theaters, do you have a number in terms of what is it that you've created in the box office? How many crores have your movies made put together? Like if you ask Tendulkar, you know how many runs he scored. Do you have a number?
I think it's very preposterous to actually say that. But yeah, you're aware because I'm the kind of, I'm happy to admit I'm the kind of filmmaker that obviously makes films for the audience. And that generally translates into numbers to gauge the success of your film. So I'm very much aware of numbers. I'm very much aware of numbers that people's films do. I'm aware of budgets. I'm aware of recoveries. I'm aware of what is the benchmark for a particular film with a particular actor. That needs to make to translate into a success. So I'm aware of all that, obviously. Right. I mean, I'd be lying if I'd say I make it for.
But is there a number? Is there a figure that you have that, since you are a numbers person, even while you are a director, which is the creative side of your profession, is there a number that you have?
I always have a number for each film of mine.
Okay, so you know the exact number for every film of yours.
I always hope that, okay, this is the number I want to achieve. Yeah. And for me, that will mean something to me that I've succeeded. I had a number for each of my films. Yeah.
Right. Like, for instance, on the internet, it says that you are the only director to have done 50 crore plus net domestically 5 days straight, or whether it's straight or not, but definitely 5 different days. Yeah. You're the only director to have done 100 crore plus gross globally for 5 days straight. What does it even mean?
It means a lot.
Yeah. But what does it exactly mean, 50 crore plus net on a single day, but 5 times or 5 different days?
It means, I'll tell you what it means.
Yes.
It means that you've collected 50 crore plus in one day, 5 times.
Okay.
And I think it spans over different films actually.
Right.
So yeah, so I think it counts.
So 5 great openings, or it could be 5 days?
Not openings, it's different days. It could be the first day, it could be the Sunday, it could be another holiday in the week. So collectively, I think between War and Pathan, we've collected 50 crore plus 5 times. So I think that's what the record it's talking about.
That's a huge record, guys. I think that's something that people in Bollywood Hungama would have certainly reported and been proud of. When it comes to OTT, on the other hand, Siddharth, I think there the success is determined by engagement. How long did someone actually watch something when it was playing on their computer or on their phones, on their television? Speaking specifically for how different the two mediums are, how do you see OTT as different from a film that plays in a cinema? Or is a good movie is a good movie? It doesn't matter whether it's on the big screen or it's on any other screen.
No, I think they're different mediums.
Okay.
And I really believe making films for the OTT is more challenging. Because anybody who's watching a film on OTT constantly either has the remote in their hand or is watching on the phone and it's on the fingertips to just switch.
So check out a WhatsApp message.
Yeah, you can easily, not check a WhatsApp message. You can in fact check a WhatsApp message when you're in the theater. Over here, you'll just switch off and say, okay, I'll come back to it later. And if it's not engaged you, it may never come back. I think it's more challenging to make films for the OTT. It's more challenging to bring people to the theater for theatrical. You really need to engage and excite them to come into the theater first. OTT is different because it's clickbait.
And they're already there.
Yeah, you need to make a nice poster with an exciting design and obviously create a simple, nice teaser. And when they're free, they might like, oh, this actor, oh, this world, this space. You'll click on it. And then to engage them. But with theatre, to make them buy a ticket, make the effort to come to a theatre, and it's expensive, it's also equally challenging. But within the film, OTT is tough because you need to constantly engage. Don't bore them for a minute. Theatre mein kya hota hai, you might have a 3-minute lull or something. You might check your phone or talk to somebody and then get back. OTT is killer.
You're just gone. I mean,
Killer.
the reason why we've been having this conversation, Siddharth, is because that world of OTT really, and would have picked up at some point anyway, but it got accelerated during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
To a point, I know we tend to forget that the pandemic even took place. I mean, people aren't even having conversations. It was a different gloomy world. Right after when the world reopened, everyone was writing obituaries of whether cinemas will ever come back. Right? I mean, they were celebrating National Cinema Days, selling tickets for 75 rupees because that was the only time the needle moved. And then it's January 2023, if I'm not mistaken, when Bollywood's obituary had already been written, comes Pathan, Siddharth Anand's Pathan. And I think whatever you do from here on, Siddharth, I think you'll be remembered for, in that sense, bringing people back into theatres for a Hindi film. This was a movie that you were making with Shah Rukh Khan. I think it had been announced before pandemic or during. Was it announced before or during?
I think just before.
Right before.
Just before the pandemic.
Right. Yeah. This was a film that he'd signed after holding back for many, many months. Yeah. And he was looking to revive his career, and rightfully so. He ended up reviving Bollywood. Was that a coincidence or was there a planning? Because he was looking at the world afresh. He was not going to do the same things he's done before. Bollywood was not looking at the world afresh. It just so happened that Bollywood had to, and he'd already thought about this book. Is that how it worked out?
I don't think that is the intention.
Okay.
I think it was just an intention to make a film that probably works. And what happened is that phase between War and Pathan. I mean, that entire phase of also boycott Bollywood had taken prominence and huge prominence. And I don't know, what I used to hear from people who were not really filmy people, and actually they used to say that Bollywood is finished and no one's going to go to the theatres. I think that, and the pandemic happened in between. So there was a lot of things that we were riding against. People were not going to theatres, they were scared of going to theatres, they were out of habit. Out of habit that they're not going to theatres, that habit was out. Pehle tha ki Friday ko there was a film coming, they were going to watch it.
Right.
Irrespective of the reviews or whatever, it was an outing.
Yeah.
Now it was a luxury. And I mean, the film really needed to be great for them to come out and watch a film post the pandemic. Apart from the fact that obviously we had South films that were doing really well. And I mean, for the merit, of course, they were doing really well. They were really good. And Hindi films per se were really not in the element.
Right.
And that is when our dream film, Pathan, where everything was riding for us, was coming up. And then we had some really small controversies around the film.
Sure.
So we were like, everything was, our backs were against the wall. And but we felt, okay, we made a film that is going to be entertaining when you come to the theatre. It's going to pack in everything in those 2.5 hours for you. We just wanted people to come back to the theatre, sample it, and then decide its fate. And then that day happened, 25th January, which was not even a holiday. And the film opened on a working day, and it smashed.
Well, I watched it in a completely full house at 7 a.m.
Can you imagine?
Which
On
is
a working day.
Unbelievable on a working day. Of course,
unbelievable.
that was work for me, but that's another matter. But I want to take you back to when you actually began to conceptualize that film, because it had its own trajectory, it had its own destiny. But at the moment when you were writing it, when you were conceptualizing it, that is not what you were thinking, right? What was the brief for you in terms of that's the next Shah Rukh Khan film that is going to be?
No, I had actually written it irrespective of the actor.
Okay.
I was working on it while I was working on War. And the choice was to make this film or War for us, for Adi and me. And it's just providence that the script of War came through earlier. So we decided to make War. And we made it. And through the making of War, towards the post-production of the film, is when Adi and me discussed what do we make next. And I said that let's pick up that script and let me see it through. And then we took it up, and at that point in time the decision of casting came up, and I think it was unanimous that we felt that there is only one person who can do it.
Oh, why was it unanimous? I mean, Shah Rukh hasn't done like a hardcore action film actually ever, right? I mean, he's had action in his movies. Like even Main had action in it, but like a proper hardcore action film was the first one for him, isn't
But
it?
you know what? I think, Mayank, action in our industry actually pre-war and around Bang Bang, if you see, was very nascent. I don't know how many films we had of this kind, of a Bang Bang or a war. There were not too many action films, which means we didn't have too many action stars. Earlier 90s maybe had action stars. Then from 2000 onwards we had romantic heroes,
Right.
younger boys, and romantic dramas and slice of life films. Action films बनती नहीं थी हमारी इंडस्ट्री में, तो इसलिए action heroes थे नहीं. Tiger Shroff took prominence. We discovered an action hero, and all the younger boys hadn't done action. So, I mean, we wrote this character called Pathan. So, like I said, so then there was just no other option. So we knew it
So
has to be
Pathan
SRK.
came before Shah Rukh Khan came. It
Yeah,
came
Pathan came before
the
Shah Rukh
fact of him being Pathan, or we don't know who he is actually. Born in a theater, as it were. The movie is also born in a cinema in the real sense.
No, but honestly, to be fair, I'll tell you, I knew at that point in time that SRK was looking to, was being very choosy about what he's doing next. And he had taken a sabbatical. And War hadn't come out. And it's any filmmaker's dream, obviously, to work with SRK.
Of course.
So was mine.
Right.
It is that you need to earn an SRK film, and hadn't earned it yet. So I was always, skeptical that will he say yes to it. So we wanted SRK. We had written it for SRK, called it Pathan, but it was always that will he choose this? I mean, he's saying no to every film that's coming to him at that point in time. He's being so choosy. Is he going to choose this as his comeback film? Wow. So we were obviously, I mean, I was.
So
Adi
how
would
does
have
it
thought
work? Like
differently.
you waited for War to release. You
No.
waited for him
No.
to watch it.
No.
To give his review of the film.
No. What happened is that obviously we wrote it. Adi and me finished a draft of it. And the day we were ready with the draft, and Adi asked me, what do you want to do now? And this is, I think, War's teaser had come out already, and we were in the final leg of post-production. I said, let's ask him. Let's ask him what he feels. And let's face it. And we'll know our destiny. So I think he called up SRK and said that I want to meet you, and SRK said come, and he went and narrated the idea to him and said Sid is directing it. And I think that is the day he said I'm doing it.
That's it.
Yeah,
That
I'm
was
doing
pretty
it.
quick for
Yeah,
someone
I'm
who's
doing
not
it.
touching any script for a year and a half,
I
if
think
not more.
he connected with what Adi narrated to him,
Right.
and loved it, and said, yeah, this is the film I think I was waiting for, and let's meet Sid when he's done with the post, and let's do it. And then War released and obviously did what it did, and I think it gave him more confidence and substantiated his belief that is the right thing to do, I thought at that point in time. And then it became my responsibility after he said yes. Oh my God, what have I taken on? His millions of fans that I have to actually
Who've been waiting for 4 years for him to return to the screen, and it's going to be this one, right?
You have no idea what I went through. I thought I had, okay, done. Shah Rukh has said yes to my film. I'm sorted.
You partied that night, and that's it.
I really did. And that day, the journey of stress began. That what have I taken on? Oh my God, what is this responsibility? Oh my God. Because till then, Mayank, I used to make films for myself. It is only my creative satisfaction of what I want to do and what I believed in. I had nothing to lose. I mean, I've been lucky in that sense. I've made films. My instincts worked well for me. And it worked for me. And I never had the greatest ambition that I want to be the #1 director and I want to make these numbers. I was all aware that this actor, iske saath this number is a safe film, try and achieve that. And God was kind that I achieved those numbers with every film of mine.
Right.
Thoda kam zyada hota tha, but I was always safe in the green.
Yeah.
This suddenly became more than just numbers. It became a responsibility. And because all eyes were on you, Bollywood was going through, Hindi films were going through a huge lull.
Crisis, absolute crisis.
And you've taken on a film that is huge in its budget. It's Shah Rukh Khan's comeback film. I mean, come on, if this doesn't work.
With Salman Khan also in it.
I mean, Salman, yeah, that's great, that cameo, yeah.
Was Hrithik supposed to be in it as well?
No.
That was never the case.
Never.
Tell me something, like, war happened and, that really put you in that stratosphere. Of course, you'd done Bang Bang before. That was your action film. You really started out as a rom-com filmmaker. We'll talk about it a little briefly at some point on that as well, because I think the genre has died and I wonder why. But what do you think How did you groom yourself to be a blockbuster filmmaker?
I wish there was a formula to it, man. I think
Because that's not something that they even teach you at a film school. I know a lot of students here, but there is no classroom. There won't be one particular subject there called how to make a blockbuster film. I guess you learn on your own. But how did you groom yourself to be that guy?
I don't think you can groom or learn that. I think there's a lot of factors that come into play. There is no maker who can say that I have got the formula. I think it's very it's a normal thing that everyone says.
Right.
But the thing is, it's a lot of things coming into play. A lot to do with timing also. Timing plays a big role. And team effort. Everybody coming, and giving their peak performance. Technicians, actors. Actors don't necessarily need to be at their prime. I think we've seen with a lot of films lately that the actors were not at their prime when they gave these biggest 500 crore films.
Right.
So it's
Sunny
not the
Deol,
actors,
even Shah Rukh in Pathaan for
everyone.
that matter.
Ranbir for Animal also.
Right.
Or Stree. So you don't have to be at your prime. It has to be that film that clicks. And no one person can take credit for it. The last person, can take full credit for a film being a blockbuster. It's a lot of things that come into play.
But
Obviously, the director steers it.
Sure. Even at the level of very nuts and bolts, Siddharth, like for instance, sheer logistics of making Pathaan, right? I mean, how many places did you even shoot that film in? Do you even remember
That also in the middle of the pandemic, we wearing masks, having protocols of travel, not being allowed to go to Dubai because Dubai was going through its worst relapse of COVID. While we were shooting the action sequence of John and SRK, we went to Russia, to Siberia. Moscow was going through its phase of a relapse. Siberia, which is the furthermost place. Spain then. It was a crazy experience. And obviously, a production house like YRF could only pull off this ambitious film at that time.
YRF, as in Idhyah
Chopra.
In many ways, your mentor.
Everything.
If we hadn't seen the documentary Romantics, we would know he existed. Yeah. So clearly he does.
He's not a myth.
He's not a myth. He clearly exists. Unless that was an AI image of him, which is possible as well. But
Oops, I've also been fooled then. Oh, he's not real.
Yeah. But I mean, some of that grooming would have happened between you and Idhyah Chopra, right? I mean, that's the guy who you've been with pretty much from the beginning of your career. I think Hum Tum was also a YRF production family.
I started off as an assistant on Mujhse Dosti Karoge.
Wow.
You're talking about 2001. I met him in 2000.
Wow.
It was going to be 24 years.
That's
of
incredible.
Incredible. Yeah.
I think the first film that you were done without YRF would be Bang Bang. Would that be correct?
No, that's Anjana Anjani.
That's Anjana Anjani.
In 2010. Yeah.
Right.
But we've been in touch throughout. I mean, Adi and me have a certain bond, a certain
What has he
equation.
taught you about what a blockbuster film should have? I mean, it's not about that. There's no formula because films will do well, some films won't do well. But certain things that a film should definitely have that comes instinctively, naturally to you when you're writing, when you're designing it in your head, when you're shooting it, and certainly when you're releasing it.
I think it's a lot first to do with the writing of engagement, engaging, and then getting the emotion right. I think when we make action films, which are these blockbusters, all of them have somewhere at some point in the film touched you emotionally. It's not hollow. That's very important. Action blockbusters cannot just be decorative action sequences and songs and dances. It has to touch you and engage you emotionally.
Which will always be about relationships, I'm guessing.
Relationships have to be the human relationships, the human touch to it, the human equation in the film.
Right.
That's very important for films to connect and resonate so that you come back, you leave the theater with some feeling. That's very important, I think. Any blockbuster you take, you've resonated with the characters. That is what you need to do. And action and good looking things are just the garnish. That is not the ingredient.
Interesting, because while you would start with the genre, I'm pretty sure you were sure that Pathaan was going to be an action film even before you began to write it, right? In the same way that you would have started with Salam Namaste, which was your first film as a director, you knew that you were going to make a rom-com. And then you went around scripting it. Would that be correct to say?
Yeah, I think for Salam Namaste,
yes.
That Salam Namaste actually was a very different story. Salam Namaste was actually a story of an Indian boy meeting a Pakistani girl.
Okay.
Ambar's character, Preeti Zinta, was a Pakistani girl. And they both meet and fall in love in Australia. And they live in together. And the interval point was actually when their parents from India and Pakistan land up at the same house. And they have to pretend they are actually roommates and not live in, they're just sharing rent.
Right.
And now the fathers stay with them. and they have to pretend that they're not in love and they're just roommates. That is why the film was called Salam Namaste.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we changed things around and eventually became about the pregnancy and about all that stuff. But that's why the name Salam Namaste came through.
Which is
so
a
it's a
lovely film,
journey, actually, you know, the films.
Right.
It's crazy.
Like what you
what you
with-
start off with and what it actually
and
becomes.
what you end up with. And
Yeah.
and is that is and obviously I was going to ask you, why do you think rom-com as a genre died? Because I think Salam Namaste might be one of the last the last of the rom-com genre. First, in that sense,
First,
I mean,
it
we had-
started off, I think, Salam Namaste was the start of that rom-com genre. There was Hum Tum in 2004, there was Salam Namaste 2005. It started off, and then I think by 2010, 11, I think it was a spurt of 5-6 years.
Like in Hollywood also it died around the same time. Early
Much earlier, I
2000s.
think. Early 2000s, yeah,
like,
early
I mean,
2000s.
I think Notting Hill people still remember,
was a great one.
but we
Love
don't make
Actually.
those movies. And why do you think that is the case? Because do you think there's going to be a turnaround? Because when you watch a Ticket to Paradise or a Crazy Rich Asians, people are connecting to a rom-com. Yeah, exactly.
I think I feel when I meet these young kids who work in my office, in my teams and stuff, I don't know, their definition of love has changed. And I don't think I understand that.
Sure.
But people my age or filmmakers my age get it. And I don't think we should attempt things that we don't know, that are not masters of. So love, I think for the newer generation is constantly evolving. And the definition of love is very different. And I think kids or people of that age would probably know what to do, what to make. And it's also got to do a lot with the belief in love, of belief in there's someone out there made for you. That is what our films rode on. All the love stories.
Right.
I don't know if they believe that today. So
Right.
therein lies the issue.
Speaking of kids, you're a Juhu boy. Would that be correct to say?
Yeah.
Did you grow up in Juhu? I'm quite
Absolutely.
interested in you personally as a person beyond the filmmaker, of course, because you come from a pretty well-known family. Your grandfather was Indra Rajan, like a huge writer. They talk about Salim Javed, but it's not like there weren't great writers, well-loved writers even before them. There's Tinu Anand, who I thoroughly enjoy having conversations with. Here is a guy who, had a chance to either work with Fellini or Satyajit Ray. I mean, he picked Ray, There's Mukul Anand. Were you close to him as well at some point?
I regret, because
Yeah.
I think that's one regret of my life, because I'm a huge fan of him, and I didn't get the opportunity to actually see him at work. I just followed his work. I think he went way too early.
Yeah,
And,
he's literally 45
it's a
years
huge
old.
loss for our fraternity and for the audience. He was going to hit something really big and would have taught us a lot more. I mean, his films are really larger than life, and I don't think I'm a patch on what his ambition and what he could do and what he would do.
And how would Mukul be related to you, Siddharth? This would be your dad's cousin.
Yeah, first cousin.
First cousin. Like your dad's...
Brother, real brothers.
Nice.
Fathers were real brothers.
Right. And Tinu, I mean, what did you learn from him?
I think him also, his sense of drama as a director, whether it's Kalia or Holding Shahenshah. He made an amazing film called Main Azad Hoon.
Yes, of course.
Fantastic film.
Yeah. Very underrated.
Yeah, really underrated.
yeah.
It's a great film.
Yeah.
I think his sense of drama. It's very important to get that right in any blockbuster also, to get the drama right. And it can be the drama within the love story also. So yeah.
And what about your dad?
My dad was actually a producer.
Right.
He produced Shahenshah last, and then...
That would be Bittu Anand, if I'm not
Bittu
mistaken. I mean, Tinu, Bittu, are these real names or is it the Ghar Ka Naam that's been turned into...
Ghar Ka Naam, which have actually
Okay.
taken precedence.
So, Tinu is...
Is Virender,
Virendra
and
Anand.
my dad was Shaminder.
Shaminder, okay, fine. So you were obviously following the footsteps of your father now, given that you've actually turned producer with a company that's called Marflix.
That's right, Marflix.
Is that really like Marvel and Netflix?
No!
Come on, is that what you did?
Okay, I wouldn't mind. The ambition is great, but it wasn't that, yeah.
Why is it called Marflix?
I mean, it's there's another personal reason to it.
Sure.
Yeah.
That you don't want to get into right
Yeah,
now.
not the platform.
Right. So obviously, Fighter would be the big one that you produced. When you are a producer plus director, does the ball game completely change? Because the logistics are twice over, right? I mean, it's one thing to be inside the lovely cradle of Yash Raj films.
The umbrella of YRF.
The umbrella, as it were.
The amazing umbrella of YRF.
Right.
And just sit there and say, I want to shoot here, I want to shoot here, I want this crane, I want the Russian crane, I want to shoot in this light. I mean, whatever. So
Right.
that's when I realized, obviously, it's a new ball game, and I think it's a part of your growth, and it obviously has helped me in many ways to understand, appreciate, and grow as a filmmaker, be more responsible. And we have different ambitions at Marflix now.
Okay.
So it was important. It was a natural, organic progression for us to start Marflix. Marflix started with Mamta, who's my wife,
There you go.
and we met at YRF during Mujhse Dosti Karoge, and she wanted to be a filmmaker, and we got married, and today now she's a producer at Marflix. Yeah.
How amazing. Like literally your entire world is Yash Raj Films. isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's true. I hope it continues to be.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it will continue to be. But in this case, when you're a producer, how do things change when you're not the director of that film? The reason I'm asking is like there's a lot of excitement around the film King that you're making, right? And I think Sujoy Ghosh is the director, someone you've worked with before. I think he wrote Bang Bang. Would that be correct to say?
Yeah. So Joy and me are also very, very close friends.
Okay.
And we're friends first. I have huge respect for his talent, and I think I'm one of the first few believers in Sujoy and his talent and his craft. And I had obviously read Kahani's script much before. I think at the time when everyone rejected it. So I think, yeah. And yeah, so I mean, enough of that. Yeah.
I like how you enter a story and say, no, enough of that. Marflix, there is a story, but is that something you learned from Aditya Chopra? Like to say nothing in public?
Being guarded.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess because I think I'm just a little too shy as such. I don't do this.
As a person.
I don't do this. I'm happier and more comfortable behind the camera where the audience is right now. This is not my
Just think
place.
that they don't exist. At the moment, there's no one here in this room, Siddharth. And the reason why I'm asking about King also is to sort of loop back into star system, right? I mean, you mentioned Ranbir Kapoor, and then you mentioned Stree. Ranbir Kapoor, to a lot of people, would be that blockbuster actor in the sense, he'll be judged by what the opening numbers were. Whereas Stree will not be judged so much by who the actors were, but the franchise itself, right? There's a lot of thought behind how there was the 90s era. There were the stars of the time. I think 2000 is when Hrithik Roshan debuted. And since then, we've not had that hardcore blockbuster hero. Maybe Ranbir will be one example. A lot of people say Shah Rukh Khan is the last of those superstars of Bollywood. Would you agree?
I think Shah Rukh, Hrithik, Ranbir. I mean, there's so many of them.
The
Ranveer
reason
Singh
I'm
is
asking
great.
this question, Siddharth, is because you practically work only with stars, right? And now there are not going to be too many new stars. You're going to exhaust yourself because you've said somewhere, and I love that line, I kind of agree with it also, that people first come for the stars and then the film. If we're going to have fewer of them, then there's a crisis in Bollywood, right?
Yeah, I think as a film industry, I think we are tuned to go for a film for seeing the face value of it. And that needs to change because in Hollywood, that's not there. In Hollywood, a Steven Spielberg can make a massive film like Jurassic Park with a Sam Neill who doesn't have so much face value. But
Right.
we need an Amir or a Shah Rukh to mount that film.
Right.
So the day that changes, our landscape changes.
And we kind of see that with like a Munjia or a Bhedia.
But they're still small films in
There
terms of
is
the
still-
numbers. You're not
Right.
investing hundreds of millions of dollars like Jurassic Park to make a film without a star or a face.
Right. I've been asked to take couple of questions from the audience. Not that I can see too many at the back, but if there's someone raising their hand, we can certainly send a mic to them. Yeah?
I hope that question is for Mayank.
No, it has to be about you. This interview is Siddharth Anand's. Yeah.
Hi, sir. I'm Rebecca from KC College,
Hi.
and I had a question regarding like how did you transition take place from rom-com to action films? Did you think that it would put an impact to your genre or something?
It's a question that I'm asked a lot. I don't know how to say a different answer every time. But
You don't. If there's one answer, it is what it is.
basically, the thing is that let's be specific. I was actually I just made Anjana Anjani, and I was looking to make another film as my next film. And Fox, 20th Century Fox, came to my office and offered me the remake of Night and Day. And I saw the trailer of it, and I loved it. The film hadn't come out, and I said, I was surprised that why would you think of me to make an action film? I didn't say that to them. I said it to myself. But I love the idea because that just gave me a chance to do something different. I love scale. All my films which are love stories also had a certain level of scale in them, the way I shot them. And this gave me an opportunity to do something very different and scale it up. And I took it on, and then I brought my friend Sujoy to write it. Sujoy and Suresh wrote it for me. And then we got Ritik and all, and it just fell into place, everything. But let me say that I didn't choose action, action chose me.
So do we expect a horror genre from you too?
I'd love to do it, not because it's doing well, but I've said it earlier also. I think there was a film that I was dying to make, was a courtroom film. And I actually chased Shah Rukh in 2011 and 12 to make it with me, but he didn't say no also, and he didn't say yes also.
You had a script with you.
Yeah, I still have that script, and I tease him about it. So it's not that I stick to a genre of rom-coms or action. That is a courtroom film that I'm still dying to make. I consider myself a storyteller, and it's the film that needs to excite me. I'm trying to break out of it, but I can't help it because everyone wants to make that action film with me now. And I also have lots of action ideas brewing inside.
But I have to say the conversations taking place on October 3rd, 2024, and Bang Bang, which was a switch to action, released on October 2nd, 2014. So it's exactly been 10 years that you've been an action director.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
Well done, you.
Thank you. Thank you.
One more last question, please.
That's for you, Mayank.
Hello,
Nope,
sir.
There won't be a question for me.
Hello, sir. You are a very renowned director. Usually, when people go to theaters, they go for like film stars like Shah Rukh Khan, Hrithik Roshan. But now you have changed the theater field. Like people go and to watch specifically your films. Like it's a SWAW, it's a Siddharth Anand film. And now I just had a question. Like, if a film fails to perform the way you expect it to, then what is like? How do you manage the setback? Like, what is your motivation to go for it again?
Good question, yeah. So the thing is that I'm that introspective filmmaker, though I don't look like one, but trust me, I am. I introspect a lot. I introspect a lot on the films of mine that have worked also. I've said this earlier again. I try and learn from every film of mine which has succeeded also. So obviously, if a film that has not done as per my expectations, I try and analyze it and see what is it. Most of the times I get the answer. Sometimes I don't. But yeah, I mean, I do introspect.
Most of your films are always successful blockbusters. So
But yeah, I keep a benchmark, yaar. उस picture ने इतना क्यों नहीं किया और इतना क्यों रुक गई?
Okay.
I only introspect at that stop gap. वो gap क्यों रह गया? So I try and do that and analyze it and try and rectify it in my next film. And I think, so I don't look at other people's benchmarks. I try and set that for myself. And I think that is the only way I've been lucky and God has been kind that I've grown, is that I try and better myself every time.
To be more specific, Siddharth, you had War, which was a huge success. You had Pathan, which was a huge success. But Fighter wasn't as huge a success. Now, when you have the distance of time to look back at those three films, or at least two films, say Pathan and Fighter, because they were not that far apart from each other in terms of theatrical release, what do you think was lacking in Fighter that was not lacking in Pathan? Now that you can look back and
Yeah,
be
I've had
objective about
that chance. I think, when I look back at Pathan, I feel there is a lot that the film outperformed. I think it did amazingly well. There's nothing that I think I can change about Pathan. Everything fell into place. The music, the action,
and the
everything fell into
timing,
place.
of course.
Everything fell into place. I think that's just God's blessings that fell into Pathan. Obviously, it worked.
And Shah Rukh Khan.
Everything.
Of course, yeah.
I think Fighter, when I look back, I find Fighter personally as probably my finest work. It's my most evolved and most honest work. And I think it had everything commercial in it. I would change is I think I would not do those beach songs anymore. I think I would try and stay honest and true to its genre and be very honest in its treatment.
Right.
Otherwise, I think Fighter, I still stand by and call it my finest film. And great performances, the best VFX you could get, and was a very, 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 very good quality film. So I think it's the songs that I think I would change at all, nothing else in fighter.
You'll probably not have the songs in
I would
fighter
not
at
have
all.
the songs.
Right.
The beat songs. I think
Right.
Sher Khul Gaye still works.
Right.
It's in the academy that they're celebrating after a great event. They still do, the Air Force guys. They sing and dance.
Right.
And they drink. So that's a leaf out of their life. But yeah, the beat song is something I would change, but nothing else on fighter. I think
You know,
it's lovely.
I have to ask the last question, and our time's up, but I have to. Is, you know, there's something that you said which went viral on the internet, Siddharth, which was when you
I am very famous for all these things.
which was when you were asked why fighter did not work, you said 90% of Indians have never been on a plane. You can't expect them to understand a film that is about fighter planes. Clearly, you didn't mean that. What did you exactly mean?
Obviously, I didn't mean that. I think it's just you know, a lot of free minds, a lot of free time. You know, love making memes and doing that, and it was taken completely out of context. I don't think if this is the platform to talk about it, but yeah, the thing is, what I actually meant was that when I see a film like that, I don't know what is the exhilaration. I can understand when you have guns and cars, you know, hitting each other. I understand the exhilaration. This was a very true film, and you probably may not get the exhilaration what I'm supposed to feel in an action film like this. Oh, this is an action film, or is there a drama? So I think that's the translation what got lost, I think. I didn't mean to talk about the statistics and they won't understand. I only meant that they will probably not know what is the exhilaration till they come into the theater, is what I meant. It just went out of context. And yeah, it happens.
It happens, shit happens, but you know what? Hit happens too. And all the time for you.
God is kind.
Congratulations.
Fingers crossed.
And all the best, Siddharth. Thank you very
man.
much
Thank
for
you.
a lovely conversation.
Thank you,
Cheers.
thank you, guys. Thank you.